Hey everyone, this is Sunita. Welcome to my channel Test with Sunita, where testing becomes simple. So today we are in day 3. Here we are going to discuss about SDLC and STLC process. So coming to the SDLC, SDLC means Software Development Life Cycle. So this is a process. So what happens in each phase? It has different phases in its life cycle, and what happens in each phase of life cycle and who is involved in this. Okay, so actually this SDLC is explained in 6 phases. One is you can see here requirement gathering, planning phase. First one is planning phase, next one is building phase, and third is testing phase, and fourth is delivering phase, and 5 is maintenance. Okay, so in these 6 phases this total SDLC can be explained. So coming to the first stage, and plan requirements gathering or planning. So each phase has its own goal and which own activities and output for this. Okay, so and the people also involved in this. So I'll show you in a diagrammatic format. So if you see SDLC, first phase is requirements gathering. So in the requirements gathering, the people involved are product owner, project manager, business analyst, or CTO. So these are the people who involved in requirement gathering phase. So what these people will do? These people will have a specific goal and they have some activities to do, and they will provide some specific output at the end of this requirements gathering phase. So what is the goal of this? This goal is understanding what the customer or users need. So actually if I am an end user, I need something in this specific format, then they will gather that type of requirement and they will make it as in the one specific document. So activities, coming to the activities part. So what they do is they do meetings with the business people and clients and stakeholders and identify the features, expectations and constraints of a customer. So what they will provide at the end of these activities, they will provide one output document. That output document we call it as SRS document. So SRS document means software requirement specification. Software requirement specification document. This has user stories or use cases. So SRS document will be having some user stories and use cases. For example for this, suppose for a banking application, decide what features needs to be implemented here, like login page, account balance check, account balance view, or account fund transfer, transaction history, everything to be taken from the customer, and they do some activities on that and they'll put it in a document, that is SRS document. Okay, and coming to the next phase, design phase. So design phase, who involved in this? So in the design phase, system architect or UI or UX designer. So these people will involve in this design phase, and what they do and what the goal of that people is, they'll create a blueprint of how the system works internally. How the system works internally, that is explained by these, that is taken by these design people. And activities what they do is architecture planning, like UI, how the UI should be and how the database should be and how the API should be. So high level and low level designs they'll give. So what the output of these people? These people output is LLD and HLD. LLD means low level document and HLD means high level document. So here what these documents will have, what type of data these documents will have, like these will have UI mockups, like how the UI should be shown. Okay, example, I'll tell you one example. Decide DB schema for the users. They'll decide how the DB schema should be shown for the users, or table for the transactions, and UI screens, how these all should be shown to the end user. That is what they'll design here. And coming to the development people. So development people, what they do? Development people, usually the goal for these people is developers write the actual code based on the designs. They will take the designs from here, LLD and HLD. They will take designs from there and they will start writing the code. Okay. And what the who and all involved in the development process. In the development process, front end developers and back end developers, these are the people who involved in this development phase, and their goal is to develop the code. So actual code based on these documents. And so what the activities they do? They do back end, front end integrations, API development, and unit testing by the developers. They do the minimal testing here. We call it as unit testing. So this is what they do here. And what is the final output from this stage? They'll provide working software modules. So finally they'll give you the working software modules. Example, they write some code for login function, and they write some code for OTP authentication. They write some code for accounting services. Like that, they will provide the modules to the next stage is testing stage. So testing stage will be given with this output. And what the testing team will do, you already know, right? Testing team, what testing team will know? Who works in testing? So testing is not only done at one phase. Testing can be done in all the stages. So here you should see many people involved in here: solution architect, QA engineer, tester, and DevOps. Okay, these are the different people involved in this testing. But in our testing team, I mean functionality or automation, whatever we do, the testing team involves here. So testing team goal, what is the testing team goal? We know, right? Verify that software works correctly and it meets the requirement or not. So whatever may be the modules that is given by the development team, we will be testing on it. I mean that modules are working perfectly or not. That's what we check. And what the activities we do here? What type of testings we do here? We do functional testing, regression testing, performance testing, security test, and finally what we do here? If we find any bugs, reporting that bug and fixing that bug. So final output of this testing team is tested the product. Okay, so if everything goes right, then product is tested. If not, if something is shown as defect, then we are reporting the defects. Example I'll tell you. Check if the incorrect OTP blocks login. Like we need to check whether incorrect OTP is blocking the login or not. Then verify transfer limits. If this is allowed to only $1,000, then it should stop the transfer beyond that limit. So this is what we check in the testing team. And next, deployment team. So who and all involved in this deployment team? Deployment team has data administrator and DevOps. Okay. So what they do, their main goal is to release the product to the users or production. Finally, the final agenda is releasing the product to the users, or we call it as production. And what the activities they do is release planning, and migrations and installations, sometimes staged releases in the sense alpha and beta testings. So these are all activities done by the deployment team. So output, what the output for this stage is application live working, whether the application working in the live or not. Suppose we are taking the bank application, right? So take the bank application and check whether this application is available to the customers on Play Store or App Store, somewhere around in your mobile, whether these people can able to access that application or not via Play Store or App Store. Okay, this is what the deployment. And what maintenance team will do. So everything done till deployment, no? Then what these maintenance team do? Maintenance team, what they do is they are the persons who who does the bug fixes, enhancements, performance performance improvements, updates based on the customer feedback, everything can be done by the maintenance team. So main goal of these maintenance team is keep system running smoothly after release. So till deployment, the application has been released to the customer, but the maintenance team, what they'll do is they work from there itself, like that system is running perfectly or not, smoothly after release or not. So usually they do, if any enhancements or any updates or any customer feedbacks, they'll work on that. So what the output from their team is, so they do improvement in the stable product. So once they get the feedback from the customer, they can again work on the improvements of that product. So that is what, suppose I'll tell you one example. New features like UPI transfer or dark mode added later. Suppose UI transfers, if customers can say like if it is better if we get the new features added to the our existing system like UPI transfer, or it would be good if we had the dark mode for that application, something like. So these are all maintained by the maintenance team. Into our STLC process. So STLC means software testing lifecycle. It has also the 6 phases in it. It is what it is actually. So you know, right? So software testing is specifically on the testing process, from analyzing the requirements to test closure. So it has also 6 phases in it. One is requirement analysis, the same like SDLC. Requirement analysis, test planning, test case design, test case setup, test case environment setup, and test execution and test closure. So it has its own goal and its own activities and its output. So coming to the requirement analysis, what the requirement analysis will do? Requirement analysis means understand what needs to be tested here. Okay, if as a tester we should start the testing only when we know what to be tested here, right? So the main goal of requirement analysis is we should understand what needs to be tested. And the activities here, what activities we do to get this? We have to review the SRS document which are given by the SDLC team. Review SRS document, business cases, what business cases are designed, and UI design, identify the testable versus non-testable requirements. So in this we are gonna do analysis, just like what needs to be tested and what not to be, and what UI design given and what is the business case. So everything needs to be analyzed here. And what is the output of this? Output is a requirement traceability matrix. Requirement traceability matrix means what requirements needs to be tested, covered in that specific test cases, or we can simply say that scope of testing. So what is to be tested here? Example, suppose I will tell you one example. If requirement says fund transfer within 10 seconds. So tester asks, what tester asks? Performance test or functional test. So here the tester has to decide whether this requirement, this is to be done with the performance test or functional test. Okay, so fund transfer within 10 seconds means this is like a performance kind of thing. So here they will analyze what needs to be tested here. I will show you in diagrammatic format. First one is requirement analysis, and then test planning and test case development and environment setup, then execution and closing the testing. Okay, so in the test plan, next one is test planning. Test planning goal, what is the test planning goal? Decide the strategy and the resources for testing. So here what are the here they decide what the strategy to be tested and resources for the testing, how many resources required and who and all eligible for this, everything can be the goal of test planning team. So activities, what these people will do activities? Test effort estimation. Test effort estimation means how many days it will take, how many hours it will take, how much of head count we need for this, everything they will analyze. And also they go for selecting the tools, like what tools needs to be used here, like Jira, Selenium, Tosca, extra. And also the risk analysis, how much risk we we have in this process. Like output for this is test plan document. Example, I'll tell you. Plan, what plan we need to follow? Suppose it is functional plus UI testing. How much? So it needs 2 testers, 3 test cycles, something like that. They'll decide whether it is a functional or it is a UI testing or it is a DB testing, something like that. They decide. Based on that, they'll decide how many testers needed. Suppose this needs 2 testers and this can be covered in 3 test cycles. This is the way they'll give the final document with test plan document. Next one, test case design. Test case design goal is write detailed test cases and prepare the test data. So here we do the test case design, writing the detailed test cases and test data also. So activities here, coming to the activities here, drive the test scenarios. So what and all the test scenarios we have, and write the test cases for that. Input, what the input we have to give, what the steps we have to follow, and executing the output, preparing the test data, boundary values, everything we do here. So in test case versus test scenario, we will know about these 2 phases, test case design. So output of this is test cases and test scenarios and test data. We will give, as a tester, we will give the test cases and test scenarios and also test data. So in the next class, I will explain you about the test cases and test scenarios. Actually, this is the main part of our testing. Okay. Then example, I will tell you one example, simple example. Test case, how we write the test case is, I want to log into the application, then log in with wrong password 3 times. What needs to be expected here? Account should be blocked for 15 minutes, right? So this is the way we have to test the application and we have to write the test cases. And next one is, I'll show you in the diagrammatic format here, test case development. This is completed. Now test environment setup. So test environment setup goal is prepare the environment where testing will run. So actually I have told you in the first session, like we have different environments like QA environment, prod environment, dev environment, like that, no? So here this environment setup will be done, whether it should be done in QA environment or somewhere else, like we usually do in QA environment. So prepare the environment where testing will run. And activities, what activities we need to do here? Environment setup in the sense, so we have to install the needed softwares and what servers and what the devices, tools and everything, and get access for all the things like databases and so credentials for database, everything we need to get here. So output of this stage is stable, final output is stable environment setup. So we will be getting some testing environment setup. Example, UAT setup, test server, mock payment gateway, something like this setup can be done. And the test execution perspective, test execution goal is run the test cases and compare actual versus expected result. So I told you now, for to test any application, we need to compare actual and expected results. So run the test cases what are given in the above phase and run the test cases and compare actual versus expected results. What the activities we have here? Execute manual test cases or automation test, whatever it is. If we see any mismatch between actual and expected results, then log a bug. So where do you log a bug? So in the environment setup itself, we will be deciding either Jira we have to use or Bugzilla or ALM, somewhere it should be tracked, right? So they will use some tool here. So what is the output of this phase? This phase has test execution report or defects. Either if it is run smoothly and no defects and all, no, then it will show you the execution report. Otherwise, if it has any defects, then defects can be shown here. So example, actual transfer takes 20 seconds. Okay, but payment delayed. Then we have to raise a bug for payment delay. So this is how this test execution phase works. Then coming to test closure. So test closure is the last stage of our testing, and test closure activities are goals of test closing, wrap of the test activities after cycle or project completion. either project completion or we said no, it should be done in 2 or 3 cycles, like that. Once every cycle is completed, we have to wrap the test activities. So what the activities they do here is analyze the test coverage, how much we have covered in that, and what any defects or lessons learned or document metrics like severity or fail percentage, pass percentage, something like that. Output for this is test closure report. Example, suppose 95% of test cases are executed, 2 critical bugs open, or plan fix it in the next sprint. Like that, they will close these testing activities. Okay, so I will go with a simple comparison between SDLC and STLC. Okay, so SDLC means the overall focus is on building a software. Okay, and STLC means testing a software. This is building a software and this is testing a software. So who starts this SDLC? Who starts this SDLC? Business people or development people. STLC, who starts this STLC? Software testing team. Okay, so output of this SDLC is overall product. Here STLC, quality validation. So finally we decide with quality validation. And who involves in this SDLC? Developers, architects, stakeholders will involve here. But here in STLC, who involves? Testers and QA engineers. So our work is mainly focused here, STLC. Okay, so I'll tell you easy takeaway from here is SDLC means what to build, how to build, deliver and maintain. Okay, so what to build, how to build, then deliver it and then maintain it. STLC means understanding requirements, planning the test, writing the test, executing the test and giving the report and closing the testing. So this is what our overall SDLC and STLC is explained. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this class. I'll explain you the test case and test scenario in the next session. Stay tuned. And I have given the link at the end of this video for the next video. You just click on that, you will go through that link. You will go to the next video. Stay tuned and don't hesitate to post your questions, or you can post your any additional topics you need. I am here to help you. Thank you all. This is Sunita. See you in the next session.